Good evening, welcome to this series of interviews. This is episode 1. Now today I'm joined by an up-and-coming magician from Austin, USA. USA. He has just released a trick with Theory 11 and he's very, very good. I think he's a wizard. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Edward Boswell.
How you doing, guys?
We're good, thanks for asking. Question 1. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? And yeah.
Oh, my name's Edward Boswell. I've been doing magic for 13 years. I got started when I was 8 years old, and my dad would come home with magic tricks when he was on business trips, and I just kind of started from there. I really wanted to learn the fire wallet, but he never would let me use it. Still don't have a fire wallet. What's up with that?
So you've just released a product with Theory 11 called Rapture. Would you like to tell us a bit about that?
Yes, Rapture is an amazing trick that is a vanishing card box, and it's something that I really didn't plan on coming up with a vanishing card box. I was working on an ambitious card. I was just trying to make my ambitious card better, and then my friend goes, "Hey, what about a card box?" So I just glue a card box to it. It just worked beautifully. So it really like the effect. It's very visual.
This thing actually looks like trick photography. If you haven't seen it, it basically looks like you've got a pack of cards, you give it a rub, the box appears, but then it just dissolves again. The first time Boz showed this to me, I nearly died, because it was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. It's madness. If you haven't seen it, I'll put the link in the description to buy Rapture. It's brilliant. Great, Rapture, yes, you. Who are your biggest inspirations in and out of magic?
Well, inside of magic, definitely there's a lot of inspirations. My favorite is Tommy Wonder. I think he's the best magician in the world. He died too soon. Tommy Wonder, Slidini, Del Rey, Don Allen, Vernon, those guys were really my go-to people that I look for inspiration.
That's a good list. It's a very good list.
It
And
is.
how about outside of magic? If you've got any maybe influences in, I don't know, anything.
Well, on the outside of magic, my biggest influence is web design. I create websites just for fun, for friends, and to learn the science and the stuff behind aesthetics and graphically pleasing stuff. It makes it really interesting because you can apply that to magic. Besides that, my dad was the biggest influence to me in magic, outside of magic, I guess.
Right, great. I know you cover a lot of styles of magic, but what is your favourite style? Is it coins? Is it cards? What's your favourite?
You basically named the two that are my top favorites, cards and coins. I started with cards. I bought Easy MasterCard Miracles, and from then on, all I did was just cards, and cards. But of recent, I've really enjoyed coins because it's a little more on the fly, and it's like, oh, just out of the air, a coin appears, So both are interesting. It's good to be well skilled in both.
It's a great choice. Do you have a favourite trick that you perform? Like when somebody asks to see one, do you just have one that you go to instantly? Like one of your favourites?
I have a couple go-tos. I have a little whole set that I do. My biggest go-to probably is either Triumph or Twisting the Aces. Both are fantastic. Twisting the Aces is actually one of the first tricks I learned in card magic. And so the pattern behind it is kind of funny because I do Twisting the Aces, and the last one I mess up on. I go, well, when I started doing this trick, I always messed up on it, which is true, except when I messed up, it would flash, not the reverse of it hiding. But it's one of my favorite ones just because it's down to heart, it's a true story. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of magic. The corny stories and stuff isn't really my big thing. It's the true to heart stuff, that the real stories are the best. Not to say your magic's corny or anything.
No,
I'm just
not
kidding.
corny. That's great. I know magicians have a lot of different ways of creating their tricks. I'd like to talk to you about your creative process. What's your process when you're thinking of ideas and tricks?
Well, I'm always thinking of ideas. I think, that one of my favorite books, the Gerald Fiske trilogy, Fiske talks about every magician should be making their own tricks. Not to go and sell and produce, but just to make it their own presentation, their own methods, so it looks natural in your hands. So I took that really to heart, and I started just writing down every idea I ever had. and I had notebooks. I mean, I even number them because I get them mixed up. I'm on number 5. I'm still about to start number 6 soon because it's almost done, and I'll just write down anything from like, ooh, water bottle. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but just a water bottle, to more complex stuff like, holdouts or something else. I'll just write down something complex. But the real thing that helps me out is a list of kind of like what is magic and how to make a good magic trick. Because no matter what, there is a fundamental science behind magic and making it nice. So like my biggest thing is it has to be simple, clear, and visual. You can't be confusing. It has to be inscrutable and mysterious, surprising, sensational, and the biggest thing is recountable by the spectators in their own words. And with presentation, emotionally touching as well. It's a good one. But that main list is really how I create my magic, is those few things. Because it has to be one of those. It has to be, surprising or sensational. Like you said, when you first saw Rapture, it was surprising, sensational, and it stayed in your mind. It's recountable by the spectator. The box was there, now it's gone. And it's simple. So.
Fantastic. I see you mentioned your journal, diary there.
Yes.
There are a lot of ideas in there, obviously, because you've done about 5 books now. How many of those ideas do you actually use in real life, and how many of them just sort of get pushed back?
It's actually kind of surprising. A lot of people talk about creativity and how 90% of the stuff you put in it is worthless, but the 10% is good. But I found I have a little bit more than 10% that I actually do and use. I don't know. Maybe it's just pure luck that I'm getting more than 10%. But I mean, majority of it's junk. It's horrible. But it's really interesting going back in the old ideas with the new ideas in mind. You'll see other magicians performing different things. You'll learn. You'll read a book on something, and then you'll go back to an idea and go, "What if I did it like that other move that I learned in that book? That would make it really cool." And you just add those two together, and it becomes amazing. I just had one of those epiphany moments just the other day with the Al Baker trick and a Dana Dortis trick, and I combined them together, and it's really amazing now. But separately, they're
So you like putting 2 things together to make an even stronger effect?
Well, not really putting 2 things together, but finding different methods for things. I mean,
right.
To be honest, magic is kind of limited. There's basically 10 to 12 things we really can do. We can produce something, we can banish something, we can make it change color, make it levitate, we can read people's minds, transpo. But there's only a certain amount of list you can go before you run out. And it's just up to creative people to change the method on how it's done or the objects that's used.
Right. How many ideas do you actually come up with in a day? Because there must be so many in that book. How many in just one day do you come up with?
Well, it's not like every day I write an idea down. The nice thing is I keep this in my pocket 24/7. Well, not when I'm sleeping, but I keep it around me as much as possible. And I'll go a week without writing anything down. And then one day I'll just pop in my mind and I get like 6 ideas, right? So it's not really day-by-day basis. It's just whenever I can, I write something down in it.
Right, I see. But I know you've also got a website where you share a few ideas as well. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes. So it was actually a little challenge of my own to myself as a web designer and as a magician to make a blog where I can create my ideas and then share them with people. And I called it the Slide Journal because I have a journal with a lot of slides. So what the heck, it kind of worked. And from there, it's been really cool because I would share some of my ideas. I get some input back from different people. And it's just nice seeing the progression of just posting stuff on a blog and getting results. It was just one of those things that was a nice challenge to accept and to see how it developed.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot of feedback from some of the greats like Paul Harris and people like that. How was that to be praised by such gods of magic?
Well, only of recent have I been praised. I wouldn't say completely praised me, and they didn't go, ooh. But, like I show Paul Harris my grasshopper routine. He's like, wow, that's better than my original. That's amazing. And it's nice to know that the work that you're putting in, you get something out of it. But I think what sums it up best is that your work is never done. I mean, even something that I think looks good, even Rapture, I mean, it looks great, but I think there's a lot more work I can put into it. You know, give me 10 more years of working on one effect, and it will look amazing, I think. And it still won't be done, you know?
Interesting, yeah. What is your idea of a perfect magic trick? You mentioned earlier it has to be simple, effective, and sticks in the spectator's mind, but why do you think that really constitutes a perfect magic trick?
I think that constitutes a perfect one because magic is about deceiving the mind. Not the eyes or the ears, those are the passageway to the mind, but to deceive the mind itself. To have the spectators a week later remember something completely different than what you actually did. And that's one of the best feelings when they go, I remember you made a tiger appear in my hand or something, and it was like 20 million feet big. You know, like they'll recount a story that's not even real or possible. And to have that and go, yes, I did. You know, magic's just about lying to deceive people almost, right? And to impress them with it. And I think the perfect magic trick would be I'm completely hands-off. Everything happens in the spectator's hand. And there's no moves. There's no complicated stuff. Simplicity is the best thing that can happen to any art form when it becomes very minimalistic and simplistic. And when that happens, you can go, I didn't do anything. For instance, Del Rey. Del Rey was a master at simplicity. I mean, the methods were super complicated, but in the spectator's eye, it was the most simplest thing. He'll give you a little plastic frog, hold it in your hand. On the count of 3, it'll do a backflip. 1, 2, 3, boink. It does a backflip. And there's no real method of how did that work. There's no strings attached. There's nothing. And it fools the minds of everyone because it's so simple. You know?
Fantastic. I know there are a lot of budding young magicians probably watching this video right now. What books, DVDs would you recommend for them, and what are your favourites as well?
Well, at this point in my life, I'm not a DVD fan, really. I do a lot more books. I like crediting and research and some of the older things. But there's, at the start of stuff, I didn't have DVDs at VHS. I know I'm a little old. I know what VHS are. Laugh all you want. I started out with Easy to Master Card Miracles from Michael Lamar. And now I have all 9 volumes of it. I have all the Daryl stuff. I have the Daryl Encyclopedia of Card Magic on VHS. The Die Burner Revelations on VHS. So I have a bunch of different things that on video format. Video is very nice, but just be sure you're not copying the performer and how they perform. Because I got to a point where all my words and ad-libs and everything I did were like Michael Lamar. And it was just really weird to have me mimic him. But mimicking not, it's a quick way to learn magic, but it's not the best way to perform magic. And that's where I think books come in. One of my favorite stuff is, like I said, Tommy Wonder, the Books of Wonder, fantastic, but also Tarbell. Go back to the classics. Tarbell has, everything. And
excellent stuff. Oh, there's more? Or
No, that's good.
No? I'm interested to know, what are your plans for the future? Do you plan to release more things with Theory 11, or do you plan to do some separate stuff? What are your plans?
I would definitely like to release some more stuff with Theory 11. I don't think any of my stuff's up there as good as Rapture yet, and I'm a very much a perfectionist, so it has to get up there to be good. I set the bar really high, and I have to get everything to that bar or better. And so I think it's still, everything's a work in progress. But releasing stuff's not all of magic. Magic's about performing for real people. And so that's the other thing, I do on a day-to-day basis, is try to perform as much as possible.
Excellent stuff. I've got one last question. It's been lovely talking to you. Thanks so much for doing this. But one last question. What one piece of advice would you give yourself if you, I'll say it again. What advice would you give to the 7-year-old version of you?
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
What advice would I give myself? I'll just say keep on going. Stay strong. Don't ever take a break in magic. I think that's the best part about what I've done in magic is I've never taken a break. If I was bored of card magic, I would go into mentalism or into coin magic or just something else. But I've never stopped learning. I think that's the biggest thing is keep on learning. There's so much out there to learn. And once you start learning this stuff, you're able to create real miracles in your hands.
Edward Boswell, thank you so much for doing this interview. Thanks for watching, people. Join me next episode when I'll be joined by... Oh, I can't say. Mainly because I don't know yet, but also because... Yeah. But thanks very much for watching. Thank you, Boswell. Goodbye.